especially this first time. Let him know who you are and what platform.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's it. I'm Clayton Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. Can you just talk about your decision to come join the Cowboys and, what you take away from your time with the Cardinals that you can use to kind of benefit your time here?
Sure. Obviously, for myself and being a background of an offensive line coach, the opportunity to be a coordinator and to sit in that chair was important to me and had been a goal, something that I wanted to do at some point. Obviously, I think being able to do it with the Dallas Cowboys is a huge, even bigger opportunity. Great franchise. Speaking on, kind of what I've learned in my time in Arizona, we really had a great experience there. And the organization was outstanding to me and my family, the head coach, the players. I didn't get to be there when they got the thing completely turned, but I was excited about the direction that we were going, and I know that those guys will do a good job there.
Joe Hoyt, All-City Dallas, and Arizona, you had James Conner, some linemen coming back here. There's a lot of questions about the running back room. There's a lot of openness. We got a couple guys coming back. How much do you look at that as an opportunity in the run game to kind of find guys to maybe tailor fit what you're looking for?
I don't know that we've completely gotten that far yet. We're working hard to evaluate what we have here, and I think that there's a lot of nice pieces to work with, and we'll continue to go down that road as we work through player acquisition, and then obviously when we get our opportunity to get our hands on these guys and coach them a little bit, but probably a little bit too early to know that.
Clayton, Todd Archer with ESPN. What's your background with Brian Schottenheimer? And now are you kind of just learning what he wants, how it meshes what you've done in the past? Where are you guys in that process of scheme-wise?
Yeah, that's exactly where we're at, is just trying to mesh what the vision of what he wants is, because he's going to call the plays, and so I think it would be dumb on my part to try to force a lot of things on that call sheet that he doesn't want to call or he doesn't feel comfortable calling. So I have not had a major background with him. I had talked football with him in the past. I had known him a little bit, but we're really excited. I'm very excited to work with him and just to continue to learn each other a little bit. And I think that that's always going to be a process of, we're all molded a little bit by our experiences, and so there's going to be, we're going to get out into some practices and talk through some things, and I'm going to see some things differently. He's going to see some things differently, and it's going to be a growing process. You get into games, and you have to have those same type of experiences, both good and negative.
Clarence Hill, All-City DLOS. You talk about your relationship with Riley and being with offensive line coach. How much will you be a part of the offensive line, or will you stay away from that?
I definitely won't stay away from that. I think that it's a little bit to be determined exactly how all those things are going to work, because I think we need to get out and coach these guys a little bit, and we need to get past the point where we're just all trying to speak the same language, which is kind of where we're at right now. In regards to my involvement with the offensive line, I want to have a great relationship with all these guys, and I really want to build genuine relationships so that they know that I'm here to help them play the best football of their careers, and that they know that we're going to have a very clear and communicated standard for what we expect from them. For me, that's going to start in the offensive line room, and I'm very excited about developing a relationship with those guys. But also, like I said, I need to have that same relationship with Dak. I need to have that same relationship with CD. So my time's going to be spread a little bit more in that way. But it's going to start in the offensive line.
With Riley.
Yeah, and Connor I've actually known him a long time. He and I have never worked together. We've talked football many times. Spent, for guys that have never worked together, probably a fair amount of time together. And then I always think this is, you can assess offensive lines or any position group really when you're evaluating what you think that a coach does, but nothing speaks like the tape. And one thing that I've always respected about Connor Riley over the years of just evaluating his players coming out in the draft and even just evaluating his scheme when I was coaching in college, the players play good. And he's had good players too, but that's your responsibility as a position coach, is what's on the tape. Are they doing it right? Are they playing violent? Are they finishing? Those are the things that you look for.
Tyler Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How much have you had a chance to talk to Dak or CD or any other veteran? defensive players?
Yeah, I mean, I've reached out to them for sure. Obviously, they're in a situation, right now where they're not allowed to be around the building and doing football things. But every opportunity that I have, I do, and I've been really excited about the experience to be able to get to know those guys a little bit, and it's going to be even more awesome looking forward.
Hey,
Clayton.
Dixon with the Associated Press, taking this job without the play calling component, do you feel like it's something where you can kind of grow into this? Is play calling something you'd like to do down the road, and how do you view this as sort of your opportunity to kind of learn the ropes of being a coordinator?
That's a good question. I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective before. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to feel like down the road or any of those things to answer your question, but I am excited about the opportunity and the fit for what I think that this job is going to be, which, really is trying to figure out, at the end of the day, our job when we're putting things on the call sheet is to be problem solvers. And so we're trying to figure out what do we do good and how do we make that look multiple? How do we make that look different? And so that's the part that I'm really looking forward to focusing on. And I think it's also it's a leadership position within a great organization. So that's the part that I'm looking forward to the most. And the answer your question about down the road, I don't know yet.
Hey, Josh Tolentino, Lone Star Live. Jonathan Gannon was, formerly a first-time coordinator. He used that experience to, first-time head coach. What takeaways do you have from your time with him, and how was he supportive throughout this process?
It's a good question. It's really the first time that I had worked for somebody that I was close friends with before. We were assistant coaches together in Indianapolis, and so we had a prior relationship that really transcended just being coworkers or in that situation, boss and employee. I think that, one of the things that Jonathan does as good as anybody else is set the tone for the environment of serving the players. And I was very impressed with the way that he did that, of just ensuring that everything that we do is going to be about helping these guys play good.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. You coached Kyler Murray in Arizona. Now you have Dak Prescott at a different stage of his career. What are your thoughts on going from the two different types of quarterbacks and just your impressions of Dak Prescott, the player?
I think that it'd probably be hard for me to answer that question until you have a larger sample size to pull from. What I know about Dak, just in the short experience that I have so far, is that he's a great leader. He's humble. He's got a lot of charisma, and also I think somebody that is an unbelievable competitor. If you look at those qualities and compare them to Kyler, they have a lot of the same things there, a lot of the same positive qualities. And so I think what you're looking at is, we probably need be a little bit further down the road before I decide exactly, how you feel about a guy's physical qualities.
Speaking of Kyler, his thought process that his running ability was part of the success of your running game. Do you need a mobile quarterback like that to make your running game go? And whereas Dak in this point of his career doesn't run as much as Kyler?
That's an interesting question. I think that it certainly can help you when you have the ability, because if you are reading a run, essentially you're taking a digit off the board on defense. But I think if you were to look at, what we did over the course of the past 2 years, probably 70% of it was under center stuff that was going to be handed off. But yeah, and I think anytime you have the ability back there to read with that guy, it's a bonus for you. In regards to how often you need to do it, I think that the necessity for that really shows up when you're looking at like really low, tight red zone plays, or a gotta have it game on the line type thing. And I think that most quarterbacks end up in that position at some point. If they're somewhat athletic, you got to be kind of picky and choosy about when you're doing it.
What do you want in your offensive lineman?
The same thing that I want from every player on offense, and that is to create violence in the game, be aggressive, run, hit. I think that every decision that we make schematically needs to lean that direction. So if there's gray area, what is going to allow these guys to play more free and run and hit and be violent?
Bobby Belt from 105 The Event. In regards to the offensive line, what's your thought on cross-training guys across position versus just having them focus on one spot?
I think that in the NFL you have to do that. I also think that if you are a starter at a spot and you're a premium player at a spot, you're probably not going to play a whole bunch of different other positions. That, obviously there's a exception to every rule. But my general thought on it is, if you're not one of those starting five, you better be able to play as many spots as possible. And that's probably the plight of being a sixth or seventh guy in this league, is that you're not going to get super comfortable at one spot, but that's what's best for the team.
Klayton, Dave Lofberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, father of Joe Willie Lofberg.
That's right. Yeah, I knew I recognized you.
You talk about establishing a relationship with the players, but I know you have a relationship with some of the defensive coaches, but is it also establishing a relationship with the guys you're working now on offense since you hadn't had a familiarity?
100%. Yeah, and I think that there's I'll have friends outside of the business that'll ask me some of these questions, like, what do you guys do this time of year? You guys' families are in other cities, and the answer to that is that's what we're doing right now. Is we're sitting in a room together for long periods of time throughout the day, and figuring each other out a little bit. There's some laughing, there's some fun, there's also plenty of, sometimes you gotta talk through something that there's a disagreement on, and we're all living in a hotel. So there's, you spend a lot of time together and you really get to know each other. And that's, that's part of the fun of this business, in my opinion, is it's, you still get a little bit more locker room type feel on a coaching staff than you do probably working in other jobs. And I really enjoy that part.
John Machota with The Athletic. Why do you think in your career that you've gotten to this point? Like, what do you think has really helped you to elevate yourself to where you're in the position you are right now?
I think first and foremost, you always have to say having good players, and those players trying to do everything that you ask them to at a really high level, and believing in you. So that's the other, one part of it. I think the other part of it is being fortunate enough to be around leaders that can help you grow and help you improve at the things that you're not good at.
Who are the offensive line coaches that influenced you? Who are your mentors and guys that you learned from and took the most from?
Chris Strasser was a guy that I played for at Boise State, and then also I was his assistant in Indianapolis, and then I was the tight end coach when he was the offensive line coach in Indianapolis. So he's a guy that I spent a ton of time around. I was also fortunate toward the end of my career when I went to Indianapolis. Howard Mudd had come back as a senior analyst, and we only got to spend about 6 months together. But shoot, man, there's things that I think about every single day that, like, Howard said this, and that was right, or I wonder what Howard would say now.
Klayton, obviously you guys have to settle up on the offensive line as far as personnel, who's going to be where, and you got to figure out the running back position. But just talk about the benefit of coming into a situation where you have Dak, CeeDee, Jake Ferguson, impact players at three of the more important positions on offense already set.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about all three of those guys, and I think there's the list probably, I won't go into it, but I think the list probably even goes a little bit further than that for guys that you feel like are established and have chances to be premium players. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to let it unfold and look at it and say, how do we put these guys in position, an advantageous position as many times as we can within a game, and that's the challenge to me. And when you have good players, that's a little bit easier.
Sydney Staples, Digital Sports. How would you describe your coaching style? What makes you unique as a coach?
I think two things. Number one, I see myself as a teacher as much as anything else. I feel like two of my biggest passions in life are teaching and learning. And number two, I really try to think about in regards to how I communicate with the players on the field, in the meeting room, is controlled energy. And so I'm not going to have a lot of blow-ups, but it's going to be very focused beams of here's the problem, here's the solution, here's where we're going to try to get that done, rather than I'm not really a big blow-up scream guy. But they got to feel the intensity.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.